Howdy, folks.
Tomorrowland Transit Authority Metroliner non-stop, now departing Rocket Tower Plaza Station for a round-trip Super Skyway tour.
So today we're going to continue with our favorite Disney attraction series. Last week we visited vintage Epcot Center and visited my favorite attraction of all time, the now extinct World of Motion. This week we're going to take a ride with Ron and his favorite attraction of all time, Mission Space. So it's all yours, Ron.
Hey, thanks so much. So if you guys remember, or maybe you didn't hear, but when I went on my first trip, I didn't per se see myself catching what we refer to as the Disney bug, right? Where we're adults and we just love everything Disney. And much of what I enjoy about Disney are the same things that I enjoyed as a kid. What I didn't realize back then was that you don't go to Disney for the thrill, right? You go for the wonderful world of Disney. And what I did catch, unbeknownst to me, was the wonder of Disney. There was a ride on our first trip there called Mission to Mars. And I was intrigued by this ride because space intrigued me. They were able to simulate the G-force, not like Mission Space, and we're going to talk about that, but they were able to simulate G-force in a way that I truly felt like we were going to space. And so on my next trip to Disney, which was with my kids, I was looking for, it was called Mission to Mars, and lo and behold, it was no longer there. But what was there, and what I knew was there from the research that I had done, was Mission Space. Mission Space is in the original place that Horizons was in. So it replaced Horizons. There was enough land that they could have built Mission Space without doing away with Horizon. It's this obviously a space-themed pavilion located at the eastern side of Future World at Epcot. It simulates what an astronaut might experience aboard a spacecraft on a mission to Mars. From the higher G-force and liftoff to the spectacular hypersleep. The pavilion includes a gift shop titled Mission Space Cargo Bay, an interactive children's play area called the Advanced Training Lab, and an upcoming restaurant titled Space 220. Mission Space, it had a soft opening in June of 2003, and we were planning our trip in 2004. So when that soft opening happened, I started seeing all the reports of Mission Space. And I don't want to go into some of those reports because I started getting really nervous. And and some of that was because the reports were very alarming. Do you guys remember when Mission Space first opened and it was coming back?
Yeah.
The overall was spectacular and everybody really enjoyed it and it was well received. But you had enough negative that Disney was truly being challenged by this new ride because, dare I say, it was too thrilling for their clientele. And that's not a dig. I think that we've come to the realization that you don't necessarily go to Disney for thrill, though I think they've changed some of that. They've added some thrill. I think they've created wonder within thrill, and I think that the public has really wanted that, and so they've adapted and have. And let's be honest, in 1976, to develop wonder looks a lot different than developing wonder in 2021, right? And you can have some thrill and wonder, and it just takes a little more money, and we've developed our technology. With Mission Space, they developed G-force by spinning you. And early on, I'm not sure they had all the warnings that they have up now about that you're getting on a ride that's going to spin you, and it's going to mess with your equilibrium, and it's going to, especially if you're prone to motion sickness, if you're prone to vertigo, if you're Obviously, if you have heart issues, there's lots of reasons you shouldn't ride Mission Space if you have conditions that don't allow you to ride it, right?
And that's something you have to take very seriously with that particular ride. I think, not to jump on your story a bit, but I think early on, they were even reporting people having heart attacks and dying, if I remember.
Yeah, there's a couple of deaths. They all had pre-existing conditions that they were warned, you don't ride this if you have this. And we as Americans sometimes think we know better and have the right.
Well, the illusion is, it's Disney, they know what they're doing, so it's safe. I'll just get on. Doesn't matter.
Well, Ron, to kind of talk about or expand on what you were saying, it really goes back to your interpretations or what you thought about Disney, that they weren't about the thrill rides and stuff. They're more about the experiences. So the warnings were there. It did say vertigo and heart problems and things like that. But the problem is those warnings are on a lot of Disney attractions.
Yeah.
You know, those warnings are on Soarin', which, you know, I guess you might get a little bit of, you know, some people get the strange feelings because it's a motion simulator kind of thing, but you're not heart pumping thrill ride kind of stuff on Soarin' or on some of those other rides. So when people see boom warning on a Disney attraction, they're like, it's Disney, we're fine.
It got to the point that they even shut it down to try to figure out how to fix this problem because of the complaints. So I was so nervous that I wasn't even going to get to ride this ride before it even got there. When they officially opened Mission Space on October 9th of 2003, and they had a host of astronauts there. They had Michael Eisner, the CEO, and just had a big time. And the astronauts that wrote it gave it rave reviews. So it's actually something that truly let you experience what they experienced for training to go to truly go to space. And that just excited me even more when I heard those reports that, hey, this is the real deal. You're going to experience, and I'm sure that that's all marketing. Some of that's marketing, but it was originally sponsored by Compaq. Again, this is just fun researching stuff because I had forgotten that Compaq was a huge computer company, and they eventually got eaten up by Hewlett-Packard, and then Hewlett-Packard became the sponsor of Mission Space. And then at some point, that sponsorship ended, and now it just is standalone with Disney. What I didn't know until I went recently on a trip was that it was refurbished in 2017. They first made it the green side and the orange side. The green side was basically you went into this ride and experienced the ride with no G-force. And the orange side, you had the full effect. It was a full ride just as they had developed it to be. And it was very ingenious, I think, on Disney's part to separate and provide those two options. I've yet to ride that side of Mission Space, the green side, where you do nothing but sit there and watch the movie and push the button, which we'll get to that. But it just seems so anticlimactic to me to ride a ride that is not even doing what, for me, is the most exciting part of the ride, right?
Can I just interrupt you really quickly there? That's the side of the ride that I did. I can't really do the G-force thing for different health issues, but I will say that as you were mentioning, Disney does such a good job of trying to create these experiences for people that you can still get the sense of what that ride must have been like. I mean, I was just telling Dewey, I was claustrophobic in there, and getting the sense of traveling there was some kind of motion from what I remember that they do incorporate into it. And
cool.
For a second, I got a little worried. I was like, did I get on the wrong one? But it was still a full experience. You get to see through the viewfinder and all that thing. But I was going to ask you, can you tell us what the experience is? What is the ride? What happens for those people who've never been on it?
So riders are trainees at the Fictional International Space Training Center, ISTC. where they are arranged into crews of 4 before watching an introductory video featuring actor Gary Sinise. Well, it did feature, but once they did that refurbishment that I talked about in 2017, it is now done by Gina Torres. This ride means so much. It was such a thing for me that Gary, I felt like, did such a good job with it. Don't get me wrong. I think Gina does a really good job. It's the exact same script from what I can tell, and she does a really good job with it as well. I just, for old sake, I really enjoy Gary as an actor, and I just thought he did a really good job of portraying and bringing me into that reality of, hey, we're going into a mission. And once you're divided into 4 groups, you're then taken to another spot and you're explained what role you will be playing, right? And then they direct you into a module, and you have 4 people: navigator, pilot, commander, and engineer. And what I love about Disney is they do such a good job, because the first time you ride it, you think, oh, I've got to push this button or this ride's not going to do this. And I mean, they blink it. Hey, don't forget, you got to push this button. And I mean, in the back of your mind, I guess this is what I love about Disney. It lets me be a kid. It lets me really believe, hey, if I don't push this button, something's going to happen. And they're so Disney being Disney, if you don't push the button, something does happen. It says, hey, we're going to push this button for you because you didn't.
Here's an alert.
And exactly. And so you get, I just love it. I don't know if that's coming across how much I love that they let you become an astronaut. And even as an adult, you go in there and there's all these, I mean, you can just, I don't know, there's buttons everywhere. You can push buttons, lights light up. I mean, it's just like, it's what, for me, right? It's like I sat down and my imagination came alive. Because you used to sit down in your car, you'd go out to the driveway and just get in your car and act like you're driving, right? You push all the buttons, but nothing would light up. Hopefully nothing would light up and nothing would take off on you. But here you go in and you're right. It can be claustrophobic. I love that they blow air in your face, which understandably now is really helps with motion sickness. So I'm interested, Tony, on the side that doesn't have the spinning, do they still blow air on you to help you feel less claustrophobic?
It's hard for me to remember. It was a long time ago, and I was kind of worried about whether I was in the right one or not. So I don't remember that. I remember that I was clutching onto a bottle of water because I was afraid of dehydrating in there. I don't know why I felt that. But Ron, you know, what's interesting is with what you're saying, I totally forgot some of those aspects of that ride about being selected and pushing the buttons. Sounds very similar to something they just created 2 years ago. That's right behind me here. The ride in Galaxy's Edge with the Millennium Falcon. They incorporated a lot of what you're talking about into another version.
The first time I rode it, I knew you spin. I knew that spinning was how they created the G-force, but I honestly don't remember the spinning. They did such a good job that when I ride this ride, I don't feel like I'm spinning. I feel like I'm taking off in a rocket. And I feel like I'm going straight forward up and not spinning. And it's by design, because it's the video. It's, again, they do, I don't know any other company that does this as well as Disney, where they use motion and video to make you feel like you're doing something other than what you're doing. We talked about it with the free rides and flight and motion, I think, and the speed tunnel. You're really going slow, but your mind tells you you're going fast. In Mission Space, you're really spinning, but your mind tells you you're taking off in a rocket.
I love how Disney always gives this, fancy term to whether the attraction is or what it does. and they actually call this is not an attraction, this is not a whatever. They call it an interactive centrifuge, which, I mean, sounds really cool. But if you think about it, what they did, it's exactly what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
This ride is you figure Star Tours. It's a motion simulator, and then they just like, hey, Star Tours is fun, but if we took Star Tours and spun folks around super fast, that would be great. And that's exactly what this is. It's a interactive centrifuge. So they're spinning Star Tours basically. So you feel that those G-forces that Ron's talking about. And I mean,
heart
it really
starts
does.
racing. I'm getting.
I think
absolutely. Didn't they have a commercial like that where the commercial for it had the people going, "Oh my gosh, my heart's beating fast."
I think we're taking a few G's here. I can't feel my face. I'm numb.
The sensation, real.
I can't lift my hands. Is there still gravity?
The experience, unbelievable.
And didn't they have them lifting from the seat or something like that? Or do you actually lift from your seat?
You don't lift from your seat. Now, what they do, Warren, is so once you leave and they put this, I mean, they put a spotlight on you. You're the pilot. You're the engineer.
Right.
And they kind of, again, be sure to do you have a responsibility in this mission. Make sure you do what you need to do, and then you go in and you sit down, and the door shut, and the centrifuge actually comes up to you, and it is very close proximity. You can feel very claustrophobic, and I think because I have a tendency to feel claustrophobic as well. I'm not a real big fan of tight spaces, but I've not felt claustrophobic in this ride, and I think the blowing the wind on my face is a big part of that, because I don't feel a lack of oxygen. And that's my big thing, is I don't want to be in a tight spot where I can't get to an area where I can breathe. And so then you're in there, and there's a whole storyline, right? You're going to be taking a trip to Mars, and you're sitting. They kind of tilt the centrifuge that you're in, and so you're kind of on your back, but not quite. And the screen has you looking at the rocket basically up the tower that the rocket launches from, right? And it kind of vibrates and lets you feel when the power boosters, and somebody has to push a button to light the power boosters, and you start feeling the rocket rising. So as you go, the G forces get more and more. And what's incredible is, so at the very last part from leaving Earth to going to space, they show the spaceship coming apart, and they show how you're going to be slingshot around the moon. And I don't know, guys, it's just incredible how you feel, because they go between having you take off where you feel full effect of G-forces. To me, you actually feel like you've entered zero gravity, because you all of a sudden you have this G-force. Look at me leaning back to my chair, trying to
You're emulating it.
Trying to stimulate. Anyway, and then all of a sudden they turn it off, and you actually kind of feel weightless, and you feel zero gravity, and as you're being as you've entered space, and then you go into hypersleep, and you wake up, and all through the ride you're feeling G-force, you're not feeling G-force, you're feeling thrusters and it's all the screen that helps you stay focused so that you don't feel like you're spinning. And then it ends with you landing on Mars and almost dying. I don't know how to explain it any better. It's just a ride that I will always enjoy. It will be a ride that I will be heartbroken if this is ever replaced. And it's just lets me be a kid. I think the reason I love it is I realized that going to space, it has become reality for some super rich people already. And I can see it becoming a reality for the common man at some point, but not this common man. And so Mission Space allows me to experience something that um, I'll never get the opportunity to experience. And Disney has, through this experience, I have come to learn that Disney is where you can go and experience wonder. And if you want to experience thrill, go to any other theme park. Now, don't get me wrong, Disney provides some great thrill rides now, and but they're not in the business of becoming the biggest and fastest roller coaster. They're in the business of creating a place where you can enter your imagination and it's real, and that's what I love. And obviously, it's hit a chord with me now, and Mission Space is for me where that really all comes together.
Have you been on since they updated it in 2017?
So I have. I've the biggest change is the introduction and who the commander is. I miss Gary. But again, it doesn't take away from the ride. The other part that they changed, which again they now have on, they renamed the green side, and I had that name, but I don't remember what it was. But they renamed it and they changed the film that you watch on that portion, and it's not the same experience. So
that's interesting.
I will be honest, it kind of intrigues me. I would like to go. Your experience made me think, oh man, I wish I would have wrote it so I could have experienced the difference. But I love the side where you experience it all, that I just could never bring myself to. I was really afraid of it damaging my opinion of the ride.
I wanted to talk about a little bit about Mission Space because, like you, Ron, when I was a kid, my dream was to be an astronaut someday. I loved NASA. I was intrigued with the space shuttle, and I didn't miss a launch if it was on TV, taking off and everything. I made sure I didn't miss it. I just loved space, and I've been that way my entire life, even into adulthood. I'm still a big Star Wars guy.
You're in the Air Force.
Absolutely. I was in the Air Force. I didn't get to be an astronaut. I didn't get to go to space camp like I wanted to when I was a kid. When I heard about Mission Space, first of all, it's an extremely exciting premise. And the idea that you're going to get to feel like you're blasting off sounded amazing to me. And I was excited. The only thing I was not excited about was the fact that they had to remove Horizons to do it. And that's one of the things that is always really, as much as I love Disney, it disappoints me all the time. I have no problem. Please bring me new attractions. Show me your new technology. Disney is amazing at technology, but stop removing attractions to do it. That is really my main complaint about Mission Space. If they had to put it somewhere else, I would not be disgruntled about Mission Space at all, because it's an amazing ride, and being on it and feeling those G's and the experience is like nothing else that you can get on really anywhere, unless you're an astronaut candidate for real.
There's a couple things I forgot to tell you about Dewey. One is when they were reconfiguring because of all the complaints, it does not go as fast as it originally was intended to go. And so I did miss out, because I would have absolutely loved to have experienced what it really was designed to be for those first few days and months. But I didn't. The other thing that I didn't go into that I thought was very interesting is that I talked about it in the description of how you exit the ride and you go into a souvenir shop, which is very common now. That's the basic, you get dumped into a souvenir shop. What was unique about theirs is that you actually, if you didn't want to ride the ride, they do have some games in there that you can just go in there, and they're video games that you sit and play and compete against each other, but which is cool, awesome. But what was very cool back in the day, not so cool now, but back in the day, you could send an email from
Oh, yeah.
Disney
That's right.
with you in the background. They had different. You stood in front of a green screen and took your picture and said, "Hey, I just sent this from having a great time at Disney." Which you could actually type a message and take your picture and send this picture. I mean, Tony, you're in front of a green screen right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we do this every day now, so the lines are not long to do this because people are like, oh, whatever. But back then, you had to stand in line to send an email. It was crazy.
Which is funny that we're talking about how fun and extravagant sending an email to your friends was. But
it was.
we did that together. It was having a great time at Disney, and we sent it to the MHM group.
Even though Disney did away with an attraction that some really miss and wish that it was still there, they did a tribute, and so the Horizons logo is on display at the center of the rotating gravity wheel in the queue.
Yes, sir.
During the pre-show, the Horizons logo can be found on the bottom right-hand corner of some of the screens in the video, along with the text Brava Centauri.
Brava Centauri, yes. That's one of the locations you could travel to in Horizons.
Exactly. And then what else did they do? The Horizons logo can also be seen during the safety briefing outside the capsule. And the Horizon logo can be found on the front of the cash register counter in the gift shop on the way out of the attraction. So they understand that people have a love for these attractions and have tribute, little sneaks of tribute in the attraction.
If you look back at original like pictures of what it looked like before it was Mission Space, when it was still the big triangle looking spaceship looking building that was Horizons, the planter in front of the entrance had the big Horizons marquee there.
Right.
Obviously the marquee's gone. It doesn't say Horizons anymore, but that planter is the same. They didn't remove it. So that's cool. It's still there. It's original from when the park opened. Well, the park opened in 82, Horizons opened in 83, but it's the same planter. So even though the sign that says Horizons is gone, it's still the original planter. So that makes me feel good too. I enjoy that. But I absolutely love the Horizons logo in the center of the gravity wheel. That's super cool.
Other thing that is super cool to me is they also tribute another attraction. Guess which attraction they also tribute?
Are you talking about the video in the pre-show?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
So they tribute Mission to Mars in the pre-show, and you are able to see the footage of the bird landing and from that. And you can see that in the pre-show. And to me, I didn't ever notice it, but to me, that just, when I read that, I was just like, yes, they brought my world together.
And that's what's really cool. When you in Mission Space, you see it, you're already in the capsule and you're already strapped in, and I think it's just footage on the screen while they're waiting for every one of the capsules to be strapped in. It's just, you can see the spaceship, and you can see, like little trails of smoke coming off of it, like, or steam, or, the exhaust or whatever.
Sure.
And there's just that bird, flying by, and it lands very briefly on the capsule, and then it takes off. It ties it all in because Mission to Mars is gone. Yeah. So it brings that Mission to Mars tie-in again, because it's still an attraction about going to Mars. So I love how they do all that, throwbacks and paying tribute to the past attractions. So now what I will talk about lastly on Mission Space, at least from my perspective, is that I don't ride it anymore, which kind of makes me sad, because I really did love the attraction. But as I've gotten older, probably in the mid, 2005, 2006 or so, I started getting migraine headaches. And the spinning, I can't do anything that spins anymore. So I probably haven't been on Mission Space, and I probably didn't ride it for close to 10 years. And then a couple of years ago, maybe 2018, 2017, something like that, my daughter wanted to ride it. She'd never been on it before. And it was before the green team thing. So I don't remember when that happened, but before the green team made it easier or whatever. So, I couldn't let my daughter down. So I went on it, and we had to leave Epcot that day. We left, and we got back to my father-in-law's house where we were staying for the week or whatever. And I went to bed and I slept for like 18 hours because of the migraine. So while I love the attraction, I haven't been on it. And I don't know when I'll ride it again, just because of how the spinning makes me feel, which is lame because it's a great attraction. But my memory of that ride or that attraction or that pavilion, however you want to say it, the biggest thing that sticks with me is we went in August of 2003, and my son was born in February. So one of the cool things that brings back memories for me is the attraction wasn't open yet. We couldn't ride it yet, but the walls were down, so you could see the planets and the cool, what it looks like outside. So I actually have pictures of us in front of it, and my son's in a stroller, and so that's super cool for me, just my memories, because he just graduated high school in a couple months ago, and has actually started college. So that really, like, when you think about an attraction, you don't realize how long it's been around. But that's a long time ago, and I don't really think about how long it's been that it's been open. So that's just a personal memory of mine. If I can sit in front of the building and my son's in a stroller who is now a college student, then it's been there a long time. So that it just makes me, think about the good old days, I guess, when my kids were young and everything. So very cool. And then the last thing I want to say about Mission Space is that I appreciate, like you said, Ron, with the Horizons logo in the center of the gravity wheel. I also like that as new attractions have been added to Epcot, even though they kind of went away from the original idea of what Epcot Center was supposed to be with those original Epcot attraction logos and everything, they still did an old school logo, the circular logos that Epcot Center had for each attraction. They still did one for Mission Space. So I enjoy that they did that. It still gives me that, that throwback to that original Epcot Center and everything. And now as they're getting ready to go into the next phase of Epcot with the neighborhoods and everything, at Mission Space on what used to be called Future World East is going to be in World Discovery, which is the new neighborhood, World Discovery. So those attractions, everything they're bringing in now with the new Moana attraction that's going to be there and everything, they have created those old school circular logos for all those attractions. So I love that. I love that they're putting the old logos on the flags and the new entrance and everything. So it makes me hopeful about what's coming to Epcot Center. And it makes me hopeful that even though they're moving forward and changing stuff, and they took away Universe of Energy for Guardians of the Galaxy, at least they are still having some throwbacks and some original Epcot Center feels with those logos. So I absolutely love that.
And that's the kind of subtle detail that they put into this, that people who aren't familiar with why adults would want to go back to Disney so much wouldn't have any idea that this is the kind of thing that we love to see. We love acknowledgement to the past rides that are there, as well as to the history of the place. Absolutely. For grumpy old guys like me, that absolutely keeps me going. So you still have that nostalgia. So Ron, you have anything else, closing comments or anything about Mission Space or anything? This is your favorite attraction. This is your episode. Any closing comments?
Just that if you've not rode it, I would encourage you to give it a spin. And
literally.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
Give it a spin and let us know if any of our favorites, if they're still there, and it encourages you to go ride. we'd love to hear your feedback and see if it becomes something that will be a must-do on your list in the future.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Listen to the complete show on your favorite podcast streamer. Follow us on social media at WDW Reflections Podcast. See you real soon. And click here to see some more of our content.